A football and rock music photographer from Brighton has become the first transgender woman to work in the Premier League, and Sophie Cook says she feels that she's been totally accepted by both players and fans.
Yeah, she told our reporter Piers Hopkirk that she'd always known that she was a woman inside, but had tried to hide her true feelings for many years. And she says she was applauded by players when she returned to work as a woman.
For decades, Sophie Cook knew she was trapped in the wrong body. But as a Premier League photographer who plied her trade in the glare of thousands of football fans, she feared revealing her true identity would be the toughest exposure of all.
I remember being stood on the pitch at the Valley at Charlton Athletics Ground when we were crowned Football League champions. It was the greatest day in the history of my club, and yet I was terrified because I thought I'd never work in football again. I thought it was my last ever match. So there was this very real fear that it would mean the end of football for me, and I'm just so grateful and lucky and amazed that it wasn't.
In her former life, Sophie was Steve Cook, a one-time RAF technician turned photographer. But now transitioning to become a woman, she says her life has been transformed.
It's like my previous life. I was Dorothy in Kansas and everything was black and white, and now I've ended up in Oz and it's all suddenly Technicolor.
But being the subject of abuse or ridicule from other fans, does that concern you?
The reality is that so far I haven't had any abuse. I remember one little kid turning around to his friend and saying Mrs. Doubtfire, and I thought if that's the worst thing I ever hear at a football match, then I'll be happy with that.
Boxing promoter Kelly Maloney has been on the same journey.
I come from the sports world of boxing, which was very hard, and they were accepting. But some of them football fans, they can be very nasty with some of their chanting and that. But to be accepted by her team, by the manager, by the directors, and by her own fans, she's overcome a hurdle.
Now living in Brighton, Sophie says she's also found tolerance and acceptance at her local club, Whitehawk FC. And with a touring one-woman stage show charting her struggle, she hopes her story can be an inspiration to others. Piers Hopkirk, BBC South East Today, Brighton. Right.